Hi, and welcome to episode 6 of the Living Tantra podcast. Today, I want to share about the pleasure of hating. When we have the courage to enter into some of our deeper and darker emotions as they're arising, we afford ourselves a doorway into the depth of a love embodied in our human forms that is not accessible to us purely through love and light, purely through the upper realms. I want to speak about how entering into our authentic hating brings both a power and a ground to anchor the love that we are further into our 3D lives. And I want to give you an experience of how you can enter this more fully in your bodies. All of us hate. As long as we love, we hate. As long as we desire, we hate. Desire and hatred are two polarities on the same spectrum. As long as we want something, we also have an aversion to something else. Sometimes the more we want something, the more we simultaneously hate it. Hating shows us how deeply we've opened ourselves to our desires and how much we have let in and revealed parts of ourselves, maybe that we weren't ready to see or expose. Hating is a place where we come up against our resistance to allow a certain sense of hating is a very primal urge. It comes from the same source of that place within us that which is to kill, to cut, to destroy, to take. Hating, when we allow ourselves the honesty to touch that place within us where we experience it, affords us a certain power. It affords us the power of feeling ourselves as separate, defined by pushing against something that we are not. When we are honest about the places where we desire to remain hating, we are honest about the places that we are still affording ourselves a certain power through separation. There's nothing wrong with this. When we suppress these places, they tend to show up in our lives in the 3D in ways that bring painful reflections. Maybe we are met with people or experiences that are very painful or that exhibit behaviors that we simply despise, that we could not simply own as something that would exist within us, that seem too dark or too unloving. But what these reflections in our 3D world are really showing us are the subtle hidden places within where we are holding that same frequency, that same energy. As they show up in our 3D world, they trigger us and they invite us through the experience of that trigger to travel deeper inward and feel the hurt, feel the hate. Hating through our againstness gives us a sense of power, of remaining separate, and of holding on to resentment as a way of keeping in control of our reality. Take a deep breath. Holding on to our resentment as a way of maintaining control of our reality. Resentment. We all feel it somewhere. We're all holding some level of resentment towards some circumstances, towards some people, towards some event in our lives. When we have the availability and safety within ourselves to approach these places of resentment, we can see how, as long as we are resenting, we can maintain a certain algorithm of outcome. We can ensure that the response or the effect will continue in a certain way that we have known life, usually in some form of destruction, distortion, or separation. When we can rest in this algorithm, we don't have to be in the vulnerability and exposure of our hearts, in the availability of something new unfolding beyond what we have known as our construct of reality in the past. Let me give you an example. What if there were someone in my life that I continually associated with abusive language, or maybe even physical abuse, or some kind of attack? Over time, I begin to build up a certain level of resentment, a hardness, a knowing that as long as I engage with that person, it will ensue in a certain experience and feelings within me which I do not like. However, on some level, there is some experience of pleasure or comfort I get in touching that place of victim inside of me. It means that secretly I can hold a certain resentment, a certain againstness, a certain sense of power, or if I'm really honest, a certain hatred. The longer I hold on to this in place, the more I keep reenacting a scenario to play out in my life where I become the victim, where there is abusive behavior toward me, because I am not owning the deeper level of abuse or hatred that I am getting pleasure from within my own body and my own being against holding an againstness toward this other. As I become more comfortable to be honest about this resentment and maybe even allow myself the feelings of comfort or pleasure that I get from feeling this resentment, I begin to become more honest, eventually to a point where I may have choice. I may have choice to hold on to this resentment and sense of power of knowing myself and who I am in this situation, or a choice to let go and not know who I am in this situation relative to this other person. Our willingness to be honest about where we hate brings us into a deeper sense of power within ourselves. It is actually a way that we claim the power that we have given away to our world deeper into us. This power affords us a certain kind of penetration into our 3D experience that enables us to stay present, regardless of whatever experience is arising before us. The power of our hatred gives us a vitality that enables us to stay penetrating life as it is in each moment. And when we have the willingness through this hatred to soften on the other side of it into the deep well of hurting, underneath it, we come in contact with the depth of our human heart that links and weaves us together into the collective experience of all humanity, softening the innate sense of separation that we came in with. Let's travel deeper in to the experience of hating. Close your eyes. Place one hand on your pubic bone and one hand on your tailbone, and just gently massage these 2 points, bringing your breath and your presence down into your root. Be aware of any resistance, any numbness, any feeling you may be experiencing here. And through your breath, just welcoming this to arise. Feel Feel beneath any sensation into any underlying emotion that is wishing to be presenced here. Just in from the tailbone lies the opening to the anus. In Vedic tradition, the anus is connected to apana. Apana is the aspect of our life force that lets go. Without apana, there is no receiving of life. There is no intake of breath. Without apana, we hold on and we harden and we die. Within the anus, within apana, within our letting go is an invitation into death. It is an opportunity for us to let go, not knowing of what we have known, and be available for something new, beyond what has been familiar. The anus in our physical bodies often becomes a receptacle of our feelings of unworthiness, our shame, all that we have been disgusted by ourselves in our lives that we don't want others to see. Emotionally, we hold this in our anus. The more we bring our breath, our awareness, our presence into these deeper emotions that we have brushed under the rug, we start to come into contact with our anger, with our hatred, with those feelings fueled by all in life that we did not value as beautiful, as good, as true. As we begin to come in contact with our anger here, we start to feel a greater vitality. This vitality can either be vented outward in angry actions, or we can stay. We can breathe into this energy beyond the stories that it is connected to or triggered by, but simply experiencing the aliveness of this anger in our bodies. As we allow this anger, this life force within our bodies, our anus begins to let go, and we open up to more life force moving through us. Here we may be able to touch feelings of hatred, feelings of wanting to kill, to destroy, to take, to dominate. When we have the courage within ourselves to feel this within our body, sometimes it translates as lust. When we can stay in our bodies and really allow ourselves the full visceral feeling of these without acting them out, we may even begin to access a pleasure, a power. Breathe into this and stay in the center of your experience. When we enact these emotions outwardly, we lose the power that is harnessed here by staying in the center of this depth, of this well of energy opening up inside of us. When we stay in the center of our hatred, our dominance, the power and the pleasure that is stemming from this, owning this, we allow ourselves to release any contraction and open to more of a spaciousness within. As we touch the pleasure here, our experience begins to unify beyond the duality of againstness into a unified experience that is simply power. The more we rest in this power, the more aliveness that meets us here, the more Shakti that arises here. It may start to move into places of pain, And this is where we begin to hurt. When we allow ourselves to hold ourselves in the experience of this hurting, we are literally thawing the walls of separation that we have created, causing the hatred, the distortion, the taking, the domination, and allowing ourselves to move into the unity field of embodied love. This is the bridge that I call hating into hurting. Take a deep breath into your anus. Contract the anus 5 times and relax. Contract the anus again 5 times and relax. Contract the anus again 5 times and relax. Now breathe into whatever pleasure, sensation, experience that's happening for you in your body right now. Are you hating? Are you angry? Are you in pleasure? Can you stay in the center of your experience without attaching story or persona onto what is arising in you, but simply allowing your body to house the experience that is happening? Take a deep breath. And now bring your hands to your heart. Receive all the energy from your root into your heart, feeling into any hardened places, breathing, softening, allowing. From this place, if you feel inspired to do so from your heart, you may offer any alchemical blessing that has arisen from this to yourself or to any and all beings. When you're ready, open your eyes. The pleasure of hating is open to us when we have the willingness to stay in whatever experience is arising within us. Life affords us every opportunity in our 3D lives for our deeper embodiment. Embodiment and realization is not something that happens alone on a mountain or in a cave, but it happens through our availability to receive all the experiences arising and take them in, allowing ourselves to stay in the center of our experience, feeling. As we feel the intelligence of these more challenging emotions initiate us into depths and aspects of ourselves that we had been closed off to before, opening us to a deeper innate love inside. From my heart, I invite all of you into a deeper level of honesty in your lives. Where are you hating? Where are you resenting? Where are you refusing to acknowledge the places that you are projecting your own inner darkness out onto the world or those closest to you? As you begin to bring a deeper level of honesty into yourself, the reward and the blessing and the fullness that comes from this is beyond any outward victory that you could win over another in being right, in proving that your viewpoint was the right one. This is the honest work of embodiment. It is the work we do when no one else is watching, when there is no reward, except for that gleaned by our own innermost honesty with ourselves. From my heart, I sincerely wish that you more deeply discover the pleasure in hating.